stream. You mean the free flight one?
Free flight. I don't know what you're talking about.
Instant action mission. Well, we will see, I guess. Jesus is doing its loading thing. Restream is already throwing a warning that.
Well, it'll throw a warning because it's over, but we need to see what it does. I've got a black screen, right? I can see the scoreboard, but I can't see. Okay, I got a loading screen.
Yeah, it's still loading over here.
It doesn't look bad on Twitch. Oh, now it's loading. That could just be my computer. Are you looking at it?
Yeah, YouTube, it's fine. Okay, let's check Twitch. Yeah, and I think Restream is not taking the full 1300 kilobits because it's dropping frames.
All right, 6,000 is the max.
Okay.
There, now I have 1080p. Huh, looks a lot better. What about volume?
Technically I didn't change anything, so it should be still good. I don't know.
I don't hear anything.
Oh,
I
wait,
can hear
yeah.
voices, but
Yeah,
I can't hear us.
I muted the desktop device here. Sound on now.
I've got, if your internet's decently fast, I've got a new version if you want to use it.
Sure, we can try. But as long as video is good, I'm going to shut down the stream until we start streaming or something.
Just put up like your Rolex thing.
Copy. So, hello everyone, and welcome to week 4 of SATAL 2018. Today we have inSky versus 59th. And I'm joined for commentary, or I'm joining Malta for commentary.
Yeah. No, I'm joining you.
Okay, you're joining me.
I don't think it's... So for anybody that's new to SATAL, SATAL stands for Squadron Air-to-Air League, and it's a league that 51st is putting on in conjunction with our sponsors of Heat Blur, which is our main sponsor, and then TACView and Lot ATC. So again, for anybody that doesn't know, this is a pretty big first for the DCS community in the prize pool and the scope of this actual tournament or league. Heat Blur has been generous enough to provide a pretty sizable prize for the first and second places, with the exception of if 104th or 51st win, we are exempt from that, and the next highest ranked team wins. Second place will get 6 Heat Blur modules, and then first place will get 500 euros and 6 Heat Blur modules. So this is a pretty big first for DCS. Hopefully we can keep things like this going. But this is a good step in the right direction. So far for the first 3 rounds, it's been pretty exciting to watch. The first round, Micro, do you remember who flew in the first round? I think it was Ta on 104th. Was that right?
Yep, that's true.
And Ta took that match in 3 rounds, and then our second round was SF. Who did SF take on?
I think it was the 36th.
39th?
36th.
36th. Took on 36th, and unfortunately during that round we had some rule issues, and SF ended up winning on a forfeit by the 36th. And then 51st took on Lock on Greece, and 51st won that in 2 rounds. And here we are in round 4 with inSky versus the 59th Ravens, 2 teams that we really haven't seen yet. Do you know anything about these teams, Micro? Because I don't.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Do you know anything about the teams that are competing?
I know that the 59th is a pretty new squadron still. Like, I think they are, as a squadron itself, they formed like 1 or 2 years ago, something like that. And they are I think they have a British and American division, like a European, and like I think they founded, like the founders are from the UK, if I remember correctly. Like weirdly high numbers of UK DCS squadron founders, and I think I'm not sure though if it's only one division or both division mixed flying. But I know exactly nothing about inSky.
I know inSky, at least I'm pretty sure, is a Chinese team. But that's as far as my knowledge of that team goes. So it looks like 59th is taxiing. inSky, I believe, is still sitting on the taxiway. Looks like inSky is now getting ready to taxi. inSky is 6 F-15s, whereas 59th is a mixture of F-15s, Su-27s, and I think they have a Singleton Mirage. So
That's true.
as we've seen through all of these matches, players are allowed to take whatever module or whatever airframe they want to take, and there hasn't really been a discernible advantage in any airframe over another. Obviously, the Mirage is at a disadvantage in its payload because it can only carry 4. But I think the Mirage in its current state makes up slightly for that in its high altitude performance and its low altitude turn performance. Would you agree?
Yeah, the thing is, at high altitude, the fuel consumption is like at high Mach, like at lower Mach numbers, like 0.9 or 1.2. It's pretty much where it should be. Where lies the issue is in high Mach fuel consumption. So basically, if you're traveling Mach 2.0 or something, like it's basically consuming half the fuel it should be. So you can do that for longer with the same fuel than you basically would be in reality. That's a strength. But to be honest, we haven't really seen that used in either SATAC or SATAL yet. So we will see what the Mirage will use tactically here. I think it's pretty good at defeating missiles because of the lower RCS and small heat signature. That is, like, in my opinion, the Mirage strength. You can get into a notch very fast due to the brake turn performance. Like you can do and you also can decelerate very fast. You can be like 600 knots once on one moment on the deck. When you get launched and you just pop the air brake, go full 11G into the turn, and you basically land in the notch like at 400 knots within an instant. It's pretty.
Well, it's
pretty
essentially
useful.
a flying air brake. So
Yes, basically.
it's just a big wing.
It's basically turning your sail in the wind, more or less.
Yeah, but you are right in its advantages with its small radar signature and its small heat signature. But the heat signature, I don't think, is going to play a big role with the Mirage in this particular matchup because inSky is all F-15s. Obviously, it plays a bit of a role with the AIM-9, but the F-15 doesn't have the IRST sensor like the Su-27 does. So there's not... The F-15 doesn't have a tool in its toolbox that needs that or feeds on that higher heat signature. So I think the biggest thing in this particular matchup that the Mirage brings to the table is its small radar cross-section, which against the AIM-120B could prove to be a factor here.
Yeah, if the thing is also it has a quite you're a little bit low on flares, but it has a quite sizable amount of chaff. Like you have 100 with the countermeasure pod, you have something like 138 chaff. So you have actually quite a lot for that small plane.
Now, are you able to carry flares with the 130 chaff?
Yeah, you get like something like 48 flares, something like that.
So the countermeasures that the Mirage is able to take are almost equal to what the flanker can take if you carry the pod.
Yeah, the thing is basically the only drawback is you can't like decide modularly. Like you don't have a modular decision about countermeasures really. Like there's basically the chaff dispensers which hold like 0 or 112, and then you have the countermeasure pods which holds like 32 flares and 18 additional chaff or something like that. So basically you have to decide if you take the chaff dispensers with chaff or not, and that's basically a decision between 138 chaff and like 40 flares, or you take like full flares and you have like 160 flares and something like 18 chaff. It's not as modular, which can in some setups be a slight disadvantage, but usually if the fight stays more or less BVR, it's pretty much, I think it's a pretty good mix. Given that you only have 4 missiles anyways, you're not going to stay that long in the zone anyways.
Right. So to change gears here, let's talk about their takeoff formations here. It looks like 59th is in 3-2 ships. So they should be departing in 3-2 ships. We'll see how they actually, what they form into after departure. If we jump to inSky, inSky is in an inverse of how 51st took off last week, where they have singletons up front, followed by 2 ships behind those singletons. So inSky is either going to take off in a 3-ship formation, or the singleton is going to depart followed by the 2-ship. And we'll have to see how what they form into after takeoff, but it's usually a pretty good indication on what a squadron is going to do based on how they line up. So, in my opinion, in this particular instance with inSky, I think we're going to see 2 3-ships, while 59th is going to be 3 2-ships. We'll see if my bet holds true after departure, but that's what I'm leaning towards. Looks like 59th is ready. Haven't gotten the all clear from inSky. Let me type to them real quick. A little bit different weather conditions than we had last week. Last week we had in the 59th versus lock-on or 51st versus lock-on Greece match, we had overcast stratus clouds at 3,000 feet. And luckily here for these teams, it is clear weather with calm winds. So hopefully for the viewers, we'll have a little bit better time seeing the action if people get into merges. Last week, I don't think there was anyone that got into a merge. Hopefully this week, that'll be a little bit different. And we are seeing a 3-ship departing together. There's no trail departure by the element. We'll see if they stay together after departure. And what is 59th doing? 59th is taking off in 3 2-ships. While inSky is staying currently in the 2 3-ship.
Yeah, so basically your bet was right, basically.
We really don't have a whole lot to talk about until we start getting some separation by these groups.
Basically, yes. Well, I've seen though that inSky did the thing that I at least would do if I was driving the F-15 of taking semi-actives to have the capability to have supporting shots. We've seen a lot of people just take the 4 AMRAAMs and 4 M9s instead of 2 M9s, 2 M7s, and 4 AMRAAMs.
And you like the idea of the AIM-7s over the AIM-9s?
Yeah, for supporting shots, definitely. Like, if you have someone who's, like, close to a hostile merge, I think it's a pretty useful capability to have.
Now you're saying close to a hostile merge. A friendly close to a hostile merge, or yourself?
Like a friendly merge with a hostile, and then if you want to have a supporting shot, the AIM-9s can be a bit dicey. Not as dicey as the AIM-120, but still dicey.
Well, the AIM-9 can be beneficial in the way that it can just... It gives the bandit something to think about if they're merged with one of your friendlies. You really want to get the bandit off of your friendly, and while an active is great, it doesn't provide that in-your-face missile launch tone that a semi-active will when it comes off the rail.
Yep.
inSky is still maintaining the 3-ship spread, while 59th is still in 3 2-ships. They've got a lead element of 1 2-ship, and then a trailing element of 2 2-ships. That's a tongue twister, if I've ever had one. We'll see what inSky does. They're going for some separation. They're already 9 nautical miles separated between the elements. The northern element is almost heading directly east, while the southern element has a southeasterly heading. And the northern element could be trying to come in from the north on a flanking position from 59th, from the mountains. But they are really high. They're both at 35,000 feet and ascending.
Yeah, that's... Question is basically, are they aiming to basically corner them and not so much surprise flank them? Because if you're cornered between like 2 directions of M120 launchers, that can get pretty toasty because of the lack of options for notching. So it will be interesting what they do here. I think we saw something similar last week with lock-on grease, which didn't exactly work out. We'll see how it goes this week. 59th is kind of spread into 2 2-ships and 2 singletons for the F-15s.
We'll have to see if that maintains as 2 singletons or if they reform into a 2-ship. The spread between the formations for inSky is increasing. Now they have a singleton of inSky 992 that is going off as a singleton further to the north. And here goes 1823 to join him, and 1155 is maintaining his easterly heading. There's a lot of separation in inSky's formation, whereas 59th is much more clustered together. Now, the separated formations provide a more difficult sort for the other... Well, it provides a more difficult sort in a sense, where if you commit to 1 or 2 bandits, you're allowing a flanking position for the other bandits that are coming in from your 9 line or your 10 o'clock. While 59th, since they're still in a fingertip formation, the actual sort of telling each other for inSky who's locking onto who becomes more difficult because it's harder to lock and differentiate between the bandits because they're stacked on top of each other. The problem with it, like we had a problem with inSky's, because there's always pluses and minuses to each type of these formations, is there's no separation. So since inSky is spread out, they're able to commit onto a fine point. But inSky, since they're together, they're not, when they break apart for this initial incursion, when inSky starts launching on them, there's no way to separate the bandits that are launching on them because they're already really close together. So it's really hard to get bandits isolated and away from the enemy larger formation. 59th is still in a small bunched up formation. They've got a separation between all elements of 3 nautical miles. inSky is greatly spread out. There's about 7 nautical miles between each aircraft.
And the thing is, if inSky, like if 59th commits quickly here and actually pushes aggressively on the southern flank, they can get a pretty goddamn high local force superiority, which could turn out to be a great advantage. We'll really see how this goes here any minute now, because we're getting 30 nautical now. And basically inSky has... Yeah, they have like the southern 3-ship, what was the southern 3-ship, like the trailer is 10 miles in trail. Like if 59 swings slightly south and basically works up way up from south to north, they could really make something happen here, I think, because then they basically would run over one after the other. We will see what happens here. I think we're going to see a pretty throwballish situation here quickly.
I agree.
Cold. I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest.
inSky is really separated, and I think they're separated to the point that it's really hard to provide mutual support for one another.
Yeah, they're 30 nautical miles apart, like, and 15, and it's just a spread of 6 miles max.
So 59th, Lucas and Gemini have broken off from the main formation and are now progressing and targeting inSky 110. 110 is now launched an AIM-120B. It looks to be on Lucas.
Gemini,
but I don't think he sees Gemini.
Yeah, I think Gemini is pretty much getting a good flank here. Yeah, and he's turning in now.
It may be too late for Lucas. Lucas is trying to put the muzzle into a notch, but that 120B looks to still be tracking. And he got it into the notch. He got it just in time.
Oh, that was toasty.
But Lucas is, when he turned into the notch, has turned into 552. So he's got another 120B coming at his 12 o'clock. But that 120B is completely out of energy, so I think he's going to be okay there.
Yeah,
both Willow and RJF both launched missiles, but by the time they launched, 552 is already egressing back towards his friendlies.
Did we lose a 59th guy? I only see 5.
One of them died. Looks like Maffers got hit early.
Oh, Gemini could be in trouble here.
Yeah, Gemini's in a lot of trouble. That 120B, yeah, I think he just flew into the water. That 120B is dangerous as long as they're still under power. The amount of G loading that they can pull while they still have that motor going.
Yeah, missile with motor on is always like you basically have to seek a spoof when you're anywhere close to that thing.
So we've got 3 left for 4 left for 59th and a full roster left for inSky.
Got to say though, they're doing a good job of keeping the push up here.
They are keeping the push, 59th is, but they're going to be in trouble if they all tunnel vision on a 925, in that the inSky northern element of 115, 992, and 1823, when they recommit down south, is going to be in a perfect flanking position on 59th's right flank. inSky 552 looks like he's already prosecuting that flank on Lucas. However, with him prosecuting that, he's putting himself in a very vulnerable position to Willow and RAF coming out of the east.
There comes the missile.
But I don't know that they see him.
I think he's just got... No, what's happening here? Yeah, it's pretty four-ballish.
Lucas and 552 are now into a merge.
Yep,
552's on the sick of Lucas.
Okay, and that missile is going to hit. Yep. But
and then if we jump,
Panda
is defending.
Second missile got him.
And then Panda just ate a 120B coming from 115.
Well, that's
so we've got 2 left for 59th, 5 left, still 6 left for inSky. We have a merge between 552 and RJF and Willow. I don't know that RJF sees 552.
I'm not sure that...
But I don't think 552 sees RJF either.
Yeah, he just dropped his tanks. Like I'm in F5. But it doesn't seem like he sees them.
Then we have Willow and 1823 coming into a merge, but 1823 I don't think sees Willow. He's tunnel visioned on RJF. So they just flew right by each other within 1 nautical mile, launching on each other's friendly forces and didn't see each other.
But Willow is in a really bad place.
He's in a bad position with 925 coming in from his flank, and that 120B...
Yeah, that 120 is going to catch him. Boom.
Did it hit him?
Yeah, it did hit him.
Yeah, it got him. So we have a singleton left for 59th and RJF, with all 6 left for inSky. RJF looks like he's seen 1823.
I think he's defensive by something else.
I think he's defending 992's 120s and AIM-7s coming out of the north. But he's still committed on 1823.
I think he lost him.
Yeah, I think he did too. 1823's back in, and I think he's got him. 1823's on his 6. So RJF, 1823 are in the merge.
I think the low inSky dude doesn't want to push the merge, or he doesn't see him.
But that's a smart decision. You've got all your friendlies. Don't press the fight until you have an advantage.
And this missile is going to hit. Yep.
Yeah, they traded. So RJF was able to take down one of the inSky guys. I don't know who it was. Looks like... I think it was 1823. No. I think it was 115. That was a pretty quick round.
Yeah, that was like,
really fast.
Yeah, that was pretty fast. Really good effort by 59th to keep the push up here. but yeah, it didn't turn out too well.
It just didn't seem like they had situational awareness going into that engagement. There was a lot of tunnel vision on, I've got my bandit, I'm not going to worry about anybody else entering the fight, and I'm just going to prosecute until somebody launches on me.
Yeah, I think that basically the thing is, if they had basically swung south and basically had gone like something like a first attack heading of something like at least 330, so they have like a better radar scan zone coverage towards the north, I think that could have ended a lot better for them, because then they would have seen the bandits coming from the north. But like this, it was over pretty quickly, unfortunately.
I haven't heard anything about whether 59th is going to have inSky RTB. But I always enjoy watching the aircraft land.
Yeah, I doubt that it will be a problem fuel-wise, so we will see.
inSky took off in decent formation. The one thing I would like to see better from them is to maintain that formation into the fight. Their southern formation, the southern element, had
and there goes
a decent formation, but it was highly separated. And the northern formation was, I think if they were in a little bit better shape, it would have greatly improved their ability to come into that initial engagement and further push 59th back with the mutual support coming from the trailing elements. And then switching to 59th, I think when they were coming in to that engagement, the two ships just kind of broke down. And a lot of that came from the tunnel vision aspect, at least what I'm seeing, on pilots just getting into their bandits.
User left your channel.
I think it's also the 59th first bigger, basically tournament thingy. They run the
tournament thingy.
Tournament thingy.
Well put.
Well, like it describes it relatively accurately. SATAL.
It is, and it was a good showing by them. We don't know anything about inSky.
Yeah, I know. I know from myself, like the pressure, like even if it's nothing big, like the pressure you put onto yourself, like in the first of these things, is pretty high, because I mean the primary thing in air-to-air combat is really to like keep your SA up. That's like in my opinion, like the most, like the hardest thing and the most important thing. Like if you have really good SA, even if you have inferior missiles, you're basically not going to die, more or less.
Well, and even if you have really good SA, coming into this in a PvP event, especially when it's competitive, a lot of that SA can just go right out the window due to nerves.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. So basically anyone can lose their nerves pretty much in events like this.
I think once they get used to it, and once they get used to flying in a PvP arena, obviously there's servers like 104th and Blue Flag. We all know them as PvP playgrounds. But it's a little bit different playing on a stage like SATAL, where you know if you die, you're dead. You don't come back until the next round starts. And you know if your team dies, you lose the round. So you lose that mentality of, oh, if I die, it's not a big deal. It's more of the real fighter mentality. If I die, I don't come back for this round. And if we lose, we lose. So it's a lot different. There's a lot different things going through your head in a match like this. And when I've flown in them in the past, and I'm sure it's been the same to you, your hands start shaking a little bit. You get sweaty. I mean, your brain's going a million miles an hour. And like last week when I flew, my brain was just, it took a massive dump at one point, and I started shooting my gun because I pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's not something that I normally do. And I know, I understand my stick layout, but just because it was the first match in SATAL, it does weird things to the psyche. And I want a lot of the viewers to understand that these guys, just because this is DCS and this isn't just because we think it's not a pro event or what have you, there's still a lot of pressure. You put a lot of pressure on yourself and your squadrons to succeed in an event like this. You're essentially showcasing yourself to the world, to the entire DCS community, and it puts a lot of pressure on yourself. And mistakes can be made. And when mistakes are made, if the other team is paying attention and their SA is decent enough, they get capitalized on.
Yeah, very much true. Like, I can remember in that one red flag where I made that kind of ridiculous AWACS run, like my pulse was just way too high. Like, I measured it at one point in the thing, and I basically was like at like 120 beats per minute, like just completely unreasonable. Like, this stuff can get like, especially the thing you also have to keep in mind in these events. Usually on the server, you have like a wild mix of like skill sets. You basically have the people who are just starting with DCS, which basically just bought it off Steam or like the DCS shop or something, and like are doing their first flights. And like you have very broad like skill palettes. But in these PvP events, especially like 6v6 or 4v4 team-based combat, you basically always have like average or above average skill you're facing, which actually makes the fighting a lot different, because you like on the server you get quite a few moments where you're like, oh, that guy doesn't see me, Fox 2, and that's it. While in like competitive events, it's relatively rare to happen.
And if we talk about, Iron Mike touched on this, Alex touched on this last week, where we were talking about the ET for the Su-27, and we can bring the AIM-9 into this. A lot of people have this opinion that the ET and the AIM, well, we'll just talk about the ET, are God missiles. And they're decent. They played a really pivotal role last week because of the cloud cover. You couldn't see the contrails if you were below the clouds. And if you didn't defend them without knowing they were there, you would just eat one in the face, because you don't get a launch warning, you don't get any of that. But in a map like this, where the weather's clear, there's no wind, the ET and missiles like this, and this is just I'm just trying to showcase the caliber of the players, it's not very good, because a lot of times, or range launched AIM-9s, players, when you get to this level and you're defend these IR missiles without even seeing them, because they assume that they've been launched. So you have to completely change your tactics in an event like this in comparison to flying on 104th or something like Blue Flag, just because of A, players aren't going to make a lot of mistakes, and B, if you make a mistake, you can definitely count on somebody capitalizing on that mistake that you made, instead of just making a mistake and then getting away with it for free.
Yep, true.
Looks like we're lining up again. Did we switch sides?
Yes, we switched sides.
Oh, yeah, we got 59th in the north, inSky down at the south coming out of Katasi. And we'll see if the terrain plays any type of role. I don't think it will. That last engagement took place really high. That round didn't divulge into merges down in the weeds, treetop level. It all took place, I think, above 10,000 feet AGL.
Yeah, it was like low to medium altitude. Like, maybe that's me, like, highest 40,000, I guess my altitude palette is a little bit shifted.
What's another thing we can talk about, too, is what I've noticed in SATAC and SATAC from last year and SATAL from this year, is that the engagements in these matches take place at much higher altitudes than they do when you're flying on public servers. You have everybody entering the combat arena at Angels 40, or what's that metric, 13 for 13,000 meters, instead of coming in radar off, flying in the weeds. It's just a different dynamic.
Yeah, like I said, in these PvP events, you're not really expecting to bomb rush someone radar off in the mountains, because yeah, it's like the caliber of players usually tends to counter that.
Well, real quick, while we've got, let's talk about the advantages of each of these teams. So 59th, and I'm just going to do this from a module perspective here. 59th has, did they change? Oh, I'm looking at inSky. Give me 1 second while I flip to 59th here. So 59th had 2 Su-27s, 3 F-15s, and a Mirage, while inSky has 6 F-15s. The advantages for each of these teams, based on an aircraft selection perspective, inSky obviously carries more actives. The AIM-120B, I don't think outperforms the ER, but it does have the advantage that it's an active. In close, I think it's a better missile as long as it's powered because it can pull more G. But even that's debatable because the ER is faster, so it reaches its target faster. They're also able to outfuel because they have the fuel tanks with the flanker. The Mirage, like you said earlier, I guess has fueling issues at altitude, so it actually burns half the fuel. So maybe you can't outfuel the Mirage.
It's only an issue at high altitude at high Mach numbers. As long as you're like below like something like Mach 1.2 or so, and especially at lower altitudes, it's pretty much correct.
Okay. So they have the advantage in the actives. They can outfuel. I think the F-15 is faster than the flanker. And then if we jump to the flanker, it carries more missiles. It has Erst. The ET is debatable on whether that's an advantage or not. But the ER is faster than any other missile that's out here. Well, the 530D maybe could give it a run for its money.
The 530D is, I'm pretty sure, like it's over range, it's definitely slower than the ER. Like it's sitting somewhere between the ER and the AIM-7, if I remember correctly.
And then the Mirage has the advantage of its small radar cross-section, its small heat signature,
good instant
the fueling at high altitude, the good instant turn rate. So really, they're pretty... Both teams have their advantages and disadvantages here.
I think really the thing with mixing your team is basically, with a team that is full one airframe, you have a very big advantage, like in one point. Like you can put your finger on it, it's like that's our team advantage. Like for example, inSky has actives. That's a big advantage because like one guy can basically put multiple defensive at the same time and doesn't need to support shots. But at the same time, like if you diversify your team, you might have a small amount of advantage in different places, but it's always a question: can you capitalize on that in the situation? It's always an SA thing, I think. Systematically, I think I prefer mixed teams because you have like different capabilities on your team. But at the same time, I think it requires more SA to fly with different airframes at the same time.
One, I think it's harder to fly with 2 airframes at the same time because you really have to, the benefits and the roles of each airframe have to work in concert with one another. And if you don't do that, it puts you at a disadvantage.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you got to take advantage of the Su-27's data link for situational awareness. Obviously, the F-15 with its multi-track RWR and its TWS radar has an advantage in SA, but the data link, if you use it in conjunction with those F-15 benefits, can push you up even higher. But it's if you don't use it, in my opinion, it puts you at a disadvantage because you're not all flying the same airframe. You just got to exploit every little thing that you can. And with the flanker, it's exploiting that data link in the Erst in certain situations. With the F-15, it's exploiting those active missiles. It's exploiting that TWS radar. With the Mirage, it's exploiting that low radar cross-section and heat signature and high altitude in its current state performance. So you have to use every tool in your toolbox to give yourself every little nuance of benefit that you can in order to push yourself over the top into victory.
Yep.
Looks like 59th is ready. inSky's ready. Should be going here shortly. I always laugh when I see people lined up on the runway like this with a Mirage, because it puts into perspective how small the Mirage is. It's like a roller skate in comparison to the flanker and the F-15.
Yeah, it's pretty small. In my opinion, the really interesting thing is if you take like a modern air superiority fighter, like for example the Typhoon. It's basically the Typhoon, the Eurofighter Typhoon is basically same size as the Mirage. Which is like pretty interesting that like the size in top tier fighter aircraft has gone down that much.
I think that can be subjective. You have them kind of all over the place.
Well, I mean, if the F-22 is pretty big, but if you, for example, look at the Rafale and the Eurofighter, they're like both basically more or less Mirage-sized, which is like pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I think it could be because of the Delta Wing.
Yeah, sure. Like Delta Wing gives you lots of lift, so you don't need as big of a plane. But it's also like in general philosophy, like it's, for example, both are much lighter than the F-22, for example.
Correct.
But I think that's also due to the fact that basically with the F-22 you want to have fuel internally because stealth and stuff. So you probably want a bigger aircraft which has bigger internals, so you don't need to carry your externals. I know the F-22 has like the capability to actually even jettison the pylons, I think, to like retain its stealth capability when it drops its tanks. But I guess
just depends on the type of mission that you're trying to complete.
Just
59th took off in 3-2 ships again, whereas inSky took off in 2-3 ships again. It looks like 59th is taking the same approach. They have the southern element is taking an almost westerly aspect, while the northern element is taking an offset. So they're building a pretty wide separation between these elements. And if it works well. But if it fails, you lose, like we talked about earlier, the ability to support your other element. So if they get in trouble, and what I mean by that, it takes you a considerable amount of time to traverse that distance. So if you're closer, obviously that traversal time is less. But if you're further away, it takes you more time to get to your friendlies to help them out. So you want to put into some type of balance how far away you are. You don't want to be too close because it makes the engagement easier for the other team, but you don't want to be too far away because you can either A, isolate yourself if you get in trouble, or B, you can't come to the aid of the other parts of your squadron. Looks like 59th is trying to take this in the mountains this time. They're flying directly east. Maybe we'll have to see if one of these teams actually uses the mountains. 59th is still climbing. They're all at Angels 20, so it doesn't look like it. inSky passing Angels 35. Doesn't look like they're going to use the mountains either. They've already got a separation of 9 nautical miles between their elements, which is pretty substantial. Micro, is there anything in this engagement, while we're watching them formation fly and pretty views and stuff, is there anything that you'd like to see either team do better this round? Or anything that can be improved on?
Well, I think 59th has basically watch out on the flanks. That got them into trouble last time. I don't really. I don't know. I would say that's the thing. If they can keep a good push on and not get flanked, I think that could turn out pretty well for them. You basically
I agree.
Want that local force superiority, and if they achieve that, I think they can make something happen.
I think if they can maintain the sort in the SA, their formation puts them at an advantage as long as they can maintain their shape. I think that's something a lot of people underestimate in air combat, mainly because of the airquake environment we see on a lot of these servers, is that your shape when you're flying with your wingmen or your squad mates can mean the difference between life and death. And if you're able to maintain that and maintain communication between these engagements when you're hot, your buddy's cold, so on and so forth, it can mean the difference between you either routing your opponent or you getting routed yourself.
Yep, that's true.
Looks like inSky is starting to spread out. We've got the southern element now with a lead 2 ship that is still together with a trailing singleton that's 7 nautical miles in trail. The northern element, the lead 2 ship is 7 nautical miles spread, while the trailer is 15 nautical miles behind him. We saw this last time. We'll see if the same outcome appears. But it's really hard when you're this spread out to support anybody that gets into any type of trouble.
Thing is, though, also like with the F-15, I think the support thingy is not as vital of a component because you have the ability to basically get an AIM-120 to pitbull, and then you have pretty much the best BVR flight performance. Like the acceleration of the F-15 is unmatched by neither the Mirage or the Flanker. So basically, unless you have a faster F-15 which is chasing you, you pretty much have a good chance to survive if you basically get the AIM-120 to go pitbull and then just like turn around, light the burners.
But the key there is to making sure that you egress or extend at the correct time. You don't want to get too far into the engagement, because if you try to extend too late, you're just going to eat a missile.
Yeah, that's true.
But you are absolutely right. The active missile does provide the ability for the 15 to kind of act independently, because it's able to fire. It has that fire and forget capability. Yep, we see the first missile coming out of... Who is that? I can't see through the map.
I think it was Willow. Yeah, Willow. That's a really long shot.
That was a really long shot. That was 30 nautical miles. But maybe he's doing a home on jam. It's entirely possible, because 552 is not defending that. He's just flying straight. But 30 nautical miles, that's... what, almost 60 kilometers.
If we see a home on jam shot, yeah, I'm going to eat a broom or something. I like this, though. They're starting to fox early, like, which goes better with the approach of going pretty aggressively into this engagement. Yeah, I think the ER lost track.
I think it did too. Saw an ET come out on 992, followed by a 120B. That 120B kind of defeated the purpose of the ET, but that ET was fired from a long way away. I mean, it would have almost been at a dead stop in the air before it reached 992. Two 120Bs coming off from 115 on Lucas Beck. One eats the ground, as it looks like Lucas is descending, and the missile couldn't track him, and the second one gets notched.
Lucas Beck seems to already got hit. I'm not sure. Like, his aircraft is... I'm not sure what happened there. Could be that 120 hit him while we were...
Maybe.
I think so.
We've got another 120B coming off 552 from Maffers. He fires back, but I don't... Is he going to get into the notch? Is that 120B... Oh, he defended that 120B, I think.
No, he
map's
got... He got it.
Oh, he did? See, the map's doing some weird things for me, where the missile disappears a significant distance away from the target.
Yeah, that can be desync issues. I think...
Looks like inSky is desyncing.
Yeah.
552's desyncing. So this may be a take for Maffers. I mean, obviously we don't like... Or for 59th. Obviously we don't like to see the benefit of a desync, and he does get splashed by 552, but maintaining a decent connection is all part of winning. You got to be here to win.
True.
Panda's pressing his advantage on 115, but he's tunnel visioned on 115, and I don't think he sees 1823 coming from his 11 o'clock. But I don't think 1823 sees him either.
Yeah, I think they're both blind.
So, and this is what I was talking about with the separation here. See how separated inSky is? They're essentially in a wall. And to be able to support each other from this formation is going to be really difficult.
I think the inSky dude... No, he doesn't. What? They flew... What?
Panda,
that was like less than half a mile. They just crossed each other. Holy shit.
I don't think they still see each other. They're so tunnel visioned on each other. They flew right by each other.
Yeah.
So we've got 1823 engaging Maffers and Panda engaging 115.
I think Maffers is good though. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Maffers
he's got
also
that into
seems
the
to got
notch.
hits. Like his F-15 has holes.
Yeah, Maffers just went down. Panda's pressing the engagement on 115. Panda splashes one. Amatra coming in on 1823. I don't know if he got hit or not.
He got hit, but it's like the typical F-15 thing. Left vertical stabilizer missing. Engines on fire. I'm still flying. This is fine.
So Panda's merged with 1823, but he's got Gemini hot on his 6. So we've got a
I think the F-15 is down
3v4
though.
going right now.
I think 1823 is toast though.
You think
Yeah,
so? Does
yeah,
he have any
he's
engines left?
Yeah, okay, he just flew into the mountain. I think though Gemini is getting a problem here with... Yep.
Gemini is coming into a merge, and that 120B is going to be dangerous. It's still under power.
Oh!
He ate those two.
Yep.
He got splashed. So we're down to a 3v2. RJF, Willow, and Panda versus 992, 925, and 1915.
It's a 3, they're 3 actually.
It is a 3v3, my mistake. So we got a 120B coming on Panda.
This is... I think it's going to hit the mountain. Is it going to hit it? No! What?
Nope.
Okay. That was close.
So Panda got hit, but it looks he's still under power. He's just missing his nose cone. And he's fired
fine,
back.
Question
That's
is...
two 120Bs. 992 was able to notch both of those. And Panda, I don't think, has any idea about that. So 992 is all over the 6 of Panda. AIM-9's coming out. Panda's in trouble. Panda gets splashed. So we're down to a 3v2. inSky with the advantage. We'll see if RJF and Willow can do anything here.
How much missiles do they have left? 2... Yeah, they have the missiles, I think. Although Willow is really short on BVR ordnance.
We do have an ET on RJF.
It's a long ET though.
I think he's got one left.
And RJF is getting flanked by 925. Question is, will Willow be... No, Willow is going to merge with Finn.
I don't think Willow knows he's there.
He's defending.
Those 120Bs. He's in trouble.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yep.
He's down.
Oh, sad.
So we have RJF by himself against 3 players from inSky of 925, 992, and 1915. Can he do anything? Lone flanker.
I mean, if the AWACS coverage currently is okay, I think he can do something, but I'm nope. There comes M7.
I don't know that he was flying low enough during that engagement, and he does get splashed by 925. I think 925 just fired everything he had left.
Yeah, that seems like default triple quantity, all the missiles.
So that's the second round. As long as inSky is able to land to inSky. So that should be 2-0 to inSky.
Yep, true. I think 59th did do better this round though.
They did much better.
Like they had...
That was a much better showing.
They actually had the flanks on inSky at some point, so actually like they did adapt really well to that.
I don't know if they're gonna get forced to land.
Did one just DC? Wasn't there through? Yeah, I think they're DCing. Yep. I guess this round is over then.
Well, guys, I think that's all she wrote. That was a quick round, quick 2 rounds. How long did that take? About an hour. I didn't take very long. That was really fast.
Yep,
Those rounds were really quick.
Was really quick, true. It was more of a slugging out rounds than we usually see.
That
I
is
mean,
true.
The second round SF versus 36 was also pretty. Like we saw, like I think 2 or 3 gun kills there, so that was pretty mergish. But it was a pretty fast round for the SATAL SATAC standards, where you usually fight pretty defensively because scared of dying and being out of the round.
True.
So I guess we can close the stream now. If I'm
yeah. Let me. If you want to update the scoreboard. Well, guys, just a reminder: this is running all the way through the end of September. We'll see how the tournament goes at the end. We haven't decided on how we're going to do that yet. But inSky takes it 2-0 over 59th. We're still going through the first rounds for everybody, so the standings aren't complete. If you haven't seen the standings yet, go check them out on splash1gaming.com/merge. All the schedules and standings, as well as pilot stats and everything that will be there. We'll update that either today or tomorrow for this current match. Next match, do we know who flies next?
We're the best informed commentators in the world.
Let me check. Well, yeah, we're on top of our game here. Come on. Check who flies next.
The next match is the IRF, like the Iranian Air Force versus Chinese Festival.
So we have another Chinese team against IAF. I don't know anything about Chinese Festival at all.
Yeah, same here, and I don't know all too much about
IRIAF. I don't either.
I'm not sure. Did they fly in SATAC?
I don't remember.
I don't think.
But anyway,
so. I'm not
guys,
sure.
That's next match. It'll be next weekend. I will not be here, so I think Micro will be all by his lonesome. I'll be out of town. That'll be at 1300 Zulu, same time, same place. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think.
Thanks again to the sponsors, Heat Blur, TacView, Lot ATC for making this happen. I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yep.
We'll catch you guys next time. Have a good weekend. Sorry this wasn't too long. If you missed any of the action, make sure to go back and watch the replay. Until next time, see you guys later.
See you guys.